All right, it's been a while since I've done a video this early um, in the morning. It's just a little after 9. Welcome to my channel on the Black Opinionated Woman, also known as a Bo. So I'm going to come off camera so I can turn the light off in my vehicle. Okay. All right. I'm still here. All right, so let's just get on into it. Um, I just want to talk about how um, I I don't know how to frame this. I said, so for a while I hadn't seen much of people getting, on camera on and getting on a podcast and talking about women, right? Now, let's be clear, I wasn't looking for it either. But it was a welcome break from those topics, because I've tried to scroll past a lot of those things, but sometimes you just get these clips that are in your algorithm. And sometimes I listen, sometimes I don't. Most of the time I try to just swipe past. Um, However, they started showing back up. And this is kind of like where I give a couple of hee-haws out. So I figured the reason why people weren't talking about it so much is because there was so much other stuff going on in the news that was hee-hawable. I mean, you got stuff going on with this administration, and you have stuff that was going on with the weather. You have stuff that was just like, you have like stuff going on with the CEO getting caught in the kids cam with the HR person. You have these other factors, and then when those start to bore people, people go right back to what they believe is their bread and butter, and apparently it must be, and that is to sit there and talk about women. I don't understand why. I want to say men in general, like you're supposedly leaders and all this other stuff, and you act like you don't need women, but you need women everywhere. You need women to make your podcast run because you won't have anything to talk about. And then you need that to basically push to the same dudes who like follow that kind of content. I just don't understand why people want to sit up on a podcast and talk about women so much. And then half of these guys, when they're thinking that they're being complimentary, they don't even realize how idiotic they sound because they refer to women as bees and hoes. And we have to stop that. You very rarely see women get up on social media and have whole panels dedicated to bashing men. And they'll just usually say men. They don't call them slur words like bees and stuff like that. Like they don't do that. They don't do that. Or I haven't seen it, I'll say that. Women do not dedicate that many mental cycles towards men on podcasts. At least I haven't seen it. And if it's going on, I'll put it to you like this. I don't think that's the norm, right? Like there's always exceptions to every rule. So if you have to point out an exception, you're just like proving my point. But I just see these men get up on these podcasts and they refer to women as bees and hoes. Every woman is a baby mama. I'm like, she's a mother. She's a whole mother. And then they're like, well, we need to protect black women too. I'm like, everything about it is just, ugh. I'm like, this is what we have representing men? That's what's representing men? I I guess I'm just kind of like confused as to like what else are men interested in talking about besides sports? Because there's not a whole lot of that going on in the landscape, which is why you have to surface back to talking about women, I guess, right? What else is going on? The Coldplay Kiss Cam thing is like that's toning down. We know Malcolm Jamal Warner has passed, which is a tough loss for the industry and just for the culture. We remember him as Theo from the Cosby Show. We um we already know about like all this Epstein stuff that keeps coming out that everyone keeps threatening that more information is going to come out. I'm like, all right, whatever. Like you guys just work it out, right? We've already gone through a lot of the weather stuff. with flooding and everything like that. And I'm sure there's going to be more that's going to happen, right? But so when everything starts to run dry, people want to circle back to, let's talk about women. I'm like, if you let's talk, what else are you passionate about besides talking about how women aren't this, women aren't that? It is the creepiest thing. I don't understand why there's that much of a push and fascination for talking about women. I don't get it. And I don't know if it's because there is a just like a significant level of discomfort surrounding, the fact that I think women are no longer asking for permission to be who they are. I don't know. So this is what I would say. I would say that men and women definitely need each other. That's for sure, right? I think men and women offer up uh, uh, man, I'm going to say maybe different things to each other, but this whole concept of masculinity and femininity, on one hand, I get where people are coming from, but I think both sexes possess masculine and feminine traits. It's just that um, men would typically possess more masculine traits, I would say, in general, and with women typically more feminine. But I think what happens right now is because men have not evolved and women have. I think that we're going through a period of transformation with these men that now it's hard for them to reconcile what does womanhood look like. Well, they have no concept of womanhood, but they have a concept of like maybe this is what femininity is. And maybe I should just retract both things of what I'm saying, right? Like they can't really explain I'm having a hard time with my words here, so please take my apologies. I I think men are trying to reconcile what their masculinity looks like in proximity to a woman in this transformational form of femininity. Maybe that's what I'm trying to say because I am definitely fumbling my words. I am fumbling my words here. And so if anybody wants to call me out, you're more than welcome to call me out. And I am struggling with how to explain this. So this isn't a gotcha moment. But I think when I see men constantly getting up here on these podcasts or having these clips that come out, which is so annoying, I think they are struggling with what does their masculinity look like in proximity to this new woman, because womanhood and femininity and all those, well, I don't know if womanhood is being redefined, but I would say femininity is being shaped differently in these 2025 years, the 2020s era, right? I think femininity looks different. It looks different. And so now with men clamoring with trying to hang their hat onto something, because on the one hand, they have not evolved as much. And look, if you want to dispute that, that's fine. I'm not going to argue that. I think that because the rate at which women have evolved, I think it is alarming for them. And so they long for something that they believe is familiar when in actuality there are certain things that were in the past that were harmful. Now, that's not to say that all change has been spectacular for women. But as a woman, and when I see these men get up on these podcasts talking about women all the time, I'm just telling you, if I were single, I would be turned off by that man. I would be more concerned about why he isn't talking about how men are not like talk about what's going on with the transformation of men. Talk about how we are going to evolve technology or evolve what does medical care look like, or evolve what does obtaining like methods for obtaining formal education, instead of complaining about women, oh, you're just going to go get those degrees, but is that going to keep you warm at night? The question is, why are you not getting yours? Instead of questioning and saying like, oh, you're just going to have that or whatever, the question is, why are we not figuring out ways of securing our education? Why are we not figuring out ways of securing large swaths of land? Because people are coming in from around the world and they're buying up stuff, and yet we can't even, get a postage stamp size of land. Why can't we go in and talk about how we're going to subsidize our own farmers so that they can start giving back to our community so that we can feed our communities healthy food and have different options? Why aren't we having these conversations on how we're going to evolve urban living so that we can provide our people with options and we become less reliant on big pharma? Now, big pharma doesn't want that. But if we were to go in there and purchase land and, get these permits and do these things, and start providing, you know, I don't know, urban gardens, I say gardens. If do you understand what I mean? Like, so we're not having these kinds of conversations. We're not having conversations about, you know, um, how to evolve supply chain issues or anything like that. We're not talking about any of those things. What we want to talk about is a woman's femininity. But I'm like, you're not doing anything masculine where we can take the back seat. I'm not seeing that evolve, the evolution. Why am I fumbling my words so early this morning? I sound like I'm just making up stuff, right? Like the proclamation of the emancipation of, but we are not seeing men say, hey, let's evolve our conversation. Let's evolve ourselves. So now we are coming to women with something, with solutions, with opportunities, with these other healthier perspectives, and we're not interested in like bashing and tearing women down. We've got men wanting women to stop being hoes. That's the kind of conversations that I hear. And there's nothing wrong with that if these are one-off conversations, but this is all their conversations. I'm like, well, wait a second. You want women to stop being hoes, but you haven't stopped being promiscuous. You haven't stopped being a gigolo. You haven't stopped being a cad. You haven't stopped being unfaithful. You haven't stopped being disrespectful. So look, I usually don't like to have a whole lot of gender war conversations, but I just don't understand how men can get up on these podcasts and embarrass themselves week in and week out. It's giving secondhand embarrassment for me at this point because I'm like, you're still talking about this. And yet I'm like, we're looking at men who think they're intellectual and they sound so dumb. It's so embarrassing. And I'm like, this is what is making it to the airways. This is what these young boys are hearing. I know my daughter doesn't listen to that. I don't think my sons do either. I think my oldest may have heard some of that stuff, and I was getting on him. I'm like, oh no. But this is what the men are putting out there for the men. You don't see any other groups doing that. I'm like, oh my goodness. Anyway, we've got to get past this obsession with women because this is the way I look at it. Usually, when someone wants something, and if one group has evolved into something else, and if another group wants to be part of that group, they're going to do what it takes to be part of that group, right? So if you're looking for women who are less promiscuous, will stop frequenting, these other clubs where all the promiscuous women go. If you're doing certain things and you want women to be less of certain things, then stop pursuing what you don't want. Pursue what you want. I look at it like this. If men want women to be a certain way, you don't have to sit there and bash women about it. Just don't choose that thing that you don't want. Because women have actually started now making those choices. They're like, I don't want men who are like X. You've got women out here who won't even give people babies now. They're like, no, I don't want to date. I don't want to have babies. I don't even want to talk to you. You had a whole man get on the internet, get upset because a woman didn't even speak to him in the grocery store. I'm like, on the one hand, you want women to be all these things, and then you say they should choose better. And now when she chooses not to even have a conversation with you, now that's a problem. I'm like, the whole thing has just gotten so weird. The point I'm getting at is, if you want something, if you want something specific, then you choose that specific thing. When you start making different choices, people evolve because they want to be part of that choice. And because the same thing is happening for women right now. Anyway, I think these men need to stop getting on these podcasts talking about women. They look anti-intellectual. They look dumb. They are an embarrassment. They need to talk about these other things. There are plenty of things to talk about. But instead, as much as they act like they don't want or need women, women tend to be the center of their conversations. Women are the center of everything. So anyway, that's all I've got. Let me know your thoughts. Um, yeah, that's pretty much it. Go ahead and subscribe. And I will talk to you next time.